Shambho Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. Om. So we finished our first sloka in the second and third sloka of chapter 8. 8, 2, 3. First is finished, no? So Bhagavan Maharshi says in the second and third sloka, they have put it together. It's interlinked. So Maharshi says here, Tam Ched Bruyurvadidam Asmin Brahmapuri Daharam Pundarigam Veshma Daharo Asmin Antara Akashaha Kim Tadatra Vidyade Tadanveshtavyam Yadvava Yadvavam Vijitnyasitavyamiti Sa Bruyat Yavanva Hayam Akashastavaneshu Antarhridaya Akasha Ube Asmin Deva Prithvihi Antareva Samahide Ubhavapnisha Vayusha Surya Chandrama Ujavosha Vidyunnat Nakshatrani Yacha Sehasti Yacha Nasti Sarvam Tadasmin Asmahidamiti Sarvam Tasmin Sarvam Tadasmin Nahidamiti Samahidamiti. Everything Sarvam Tasmin Samahidamiti. It's a beautiful word. It's the end of that. So what he says about, we said about the Hridaya and the space in that, or Atman, or Brahman, sitting in the middle of that which is in the Sukshmata, which is everything and which is there in everything in this universe. Because the whole universe is Brahman. So he is trying to explain this. As I told you, this is practically, when you look at it, is a revision of the Atma chapter. But much more he went into detail of trying to explain the Brahman, that pavitrata of Brahman and that secrecy of the Brahman. Well, it's all known to everyone that the secrecy of the Brahman cannot be revealed, cannot be explained, cannot be revealed. It's not a revelation, it's an experience. It is a transformation, status of the transformation. Neither it can be revealed, nor it can be explained, nor it can be understood, nor it can be felt. So under such circumstances, the possible ways of explanation through such similes, what he explained, is the only way that we can somehow draw a distinction nearer to that. That is what he is trying to do. And so he said, Tam Sadbruyam Yad Idam Asmin Brahmapure. Says, you ask me what is inside this little space in the Kamala. There is a little space in the middle. What is that little space? Is it empty? What is that Sukshmata in that? What is it? Something has to be filled up in that. Is it vacuum? Is it something? He says everything is there. Yat idam asmin Brahmapuri. In that Brahmapuri, in that small space, what we call it as small, it is not small as in the size. There is no mathematical calculation. When we call it as small and big, there has to be, it's a relative term. Small and big is a relative term. See, so there has to be a measure to say the middle of the Kamala, middle of that Padma, which is there, which is known as small. There has to be something in reference to measure with that. Here the small is not based on that Samaya Kala. The small is not based on that measurement, that measurable. Here the small means Sukshma. Here the small means that which contains everything, the small. It is like a speck of sunlight, Surya Prakasha, Surya Rashmi actually. It is like a speck of sunlight, as I said some time back. That sunlight contains constitutionally everything that of the sun. It's not separate from the sun. If you take out that speck of sunlight and explore it, you will find all the qualities of sun in it. So you can draw an inference of that small Atman or Brahman sitting in the middle of the lotus to this extent. If you take that speck of sample of that and measure and see, analyze, you will find the Brahman there. Like this sunlight, speck of sunlight. If you take a speck of sunlight, it is no way different. Now you can say this speck of sunlight is small and the sun is big. Here also they said it is small, small in the sense. That small, that what you call, is only based on the sun of sunlight, so the Surya Rashmi or the ray of the sun, according to you, it is small. Why? Because you are comparing that ray of the sun to the sun, so you find it is small. Maharishi also is comparing the small with that the Brahman which is all-pervasive. When he compares that all-pervasive Brahman, that part of Brahman or the Brahman, it is not part. The Brahman that is there in the middle of the lotus of the heart which is inside you, is a part of you. Is a Brahman. Yes, that's all. See, if that speck of that small, tiny part or the ray of the light which is falling on the ground or on a surface, which has got all the qualities of sun, which means through that ray of sunlight you can burn something, you can heat up something, you can have a prakasha from that. From there you put a mirror with a reflection, any amount of light what you want depending upon the medium that you are providing for the reflection, it can create enormous reflection. Yes. It can give all the facilities of that. It can burn, it can show light, it can create temperature, it can cool, it can heat. No? If you want different colors of that speck also, depending upon reflector, you can make in different colors. But the speck of light is that. Everything else is depending upon the reflector. Utility of that light in different ways, depending upon your necessity, can be utilized as you utilize in the sun. The sun directly cannot be utilized by you, because the moment you go to the sun, you only get burned off. It's same way, the Brahman that you want to identify, as you go closer to the Brahman, you get absorbed into the Brahman. So you will not be able to identify the Brahman, you will not be able to realize the Brahman, you will not be able to reveal the Brahman, you will not be able to understand the Brahman, you will not be able to analyze the Brahman, you will not be able to see the Brahman, feel the Brahman, hear the Brahman. Therefore, the Upanishad and Vedanta says that in that Padma, lotus inside your Hridaya, means in the consciousness, in the middle of that purity, which is that we said lotus. Lotus is that purity, we explained about that purity. Because in order to contain the Brahman, there has to be purity. Their only little form, their only little meaning. So in the middle of the purity, that speck of Brahman, which we call as small, because we measure that Brahman based on the human size, and if the human is such, the Hridaya should be smaller than that. The lotus in the Hridaya should be smaller than that. So the Brahman or the Atma situated in the middle of that lotus should be smaller than that. Is why the term small has been used. So when you perceive the idea of the Brahman, Maharishi says, do not go by this measurable calculation of small. Then what is it? Contains everything constitutionally about this ray of sun I am talking. That is in the orb of the sun. Similarly, that which is in this little space can magnify itself to any extent. It's an emblem of cosmic secret. Whatever is the extent of this vast space that is inside, that is the extent of this little space in this own heart. So one should not under the impression that it is little as in an arithmetical sense. It's not physically small. It's not a little handful of space. It's really expansive and extensive, the universal ether that we see outside. The whole heaven, the whole earth, all the Panchabhutas, all the Panchendriyas, all the oceans, all the planetary system, all the seasons, all the Samaya, Kala, distance, everything it contains all that. Everything is inside that. Whatever we see outside is there inside that. So the small, when we said again that explanation of the small he is giving there, that small which contains everything in Sukshma Bhava. That's why it is known as small. Sukshma means that which has got everything. Sukshma. In Sthula, the moment you expand it, in Sthula, everything cannot come. In Sukshma, everything can, you can contain, that which contains everything is Sukshma. Not as small in measure. That which contains everything is Sukshma, Sukshma Bhava. Or it can be also explained that that which is not clear to the one who is looking at it is called Sukshma. That which is invisible to you can be Sukshma. That which is Avyakta to you is Sukshma. That which is secret is Sukshma. Why? Because I do not know what is the measure of secrecy. How extensive is the secret? I do not know. So it is Sukshma, is it not? The universe or the Brahman is Sukshma, we say. That means it is Avyakta or it is secret. Whenever it is secret, you only think about it. Whenever it is secret for one, the secret is that which is unknown. If it is unknown, we always think it as small. Can you think unknown as very big? No, we always say it is secret. Secrecy is what? Small. I will tell you a secret. When you say that, you always have the consciousness in you, the secret is one word or two words. I will tell you a secret. Means you always measure it as small, is it not? So secrecy, we consider it as small. Why? Because your consciousness which is present in you, or your intelligence that is present in you, or the mind that is present in you, cannot measure the extensivity of the secrecy. Since you are unable to identify the extensivity of the secrecy, you call it as small. You understood what's the meaning of small? So the small has to be explained. In Vedanta, small is that which is avyakta, unclear, unidentifiable. Is avyaktam. It's not vektam. Vektam can be measured in terms of time, space. That which cannot be measured in terms of space and time, that is Brahman. That means, that is called small. Yes. So Bhagavan says, Maharishi says, that is that small which contains everything. That whatever you learn, whatever you see, whatever you understand, whatever you hear, also that what you don't understand, what you don't see, what you don't hear, what you do not know, is also there in that small. Not only what you see and what you know. So the small is avyaktam. How much it is there inside, how much it is that, since one doesn't have the specification or one doesn't have the capacity to measure it based on the time and space, in the known measurable time and space, to me, it is a secret which is beyond this time and space. Since it is beyond the time and space, unknown to me, I call it as small. That's all. Mountain is big because I am seeing it. Ocean is big, I am seeing it. Knowledge is small because I don't see it. Yeah. Consciousness is small, I don't see it. In Hindu Shastra, when we say number of janmas, we do not know. It is too much. We know one janma means we know it is measurable because the time and space that is there, we can calculate, we can see, we can measure. It is measurable, it is vektam. So that which is vektam, we say long life. Nobody greets anybody. May you have a short life. Because life is measurable. If it is measurable, it has got a comparative study. It's a comparative statement. It is a relative term. Being a relative term, you relate to one life of a human being. One life of a human being is 120 years as per the Vedantic calculations. So we call that long is 120 years. May you have a long life means 120 years. I am not saying you live for 400 years. Is it not? So why? You have a measure there. See? If it is immeasurable, number of janmas, how to know how long it is the number of janmas? I do not know. It is a secret. So number of janmas, I consider it in a Sukshma Rupa. Bhagavan says he is inside our heart. He shines in the same way as he is seen outside in our outer space. Even the lightning and thunder that are seen outside are taking place in our own heart. Everything that happens in any manner, even at the littlest thing, takes place here inside. All those things that are inside in the heart. Well, the heart inside seems to be the greater mystery than the outer world, than the ear. The Hridaya, the heart means, as I told you, it's the consciousness, it's the Atman, it is the Brahman. Here it has been termed as Hridaya, that's all. Whatever we cannot see in the world also is there. We have already discussed. That which can't be heard, which cannot be seen, which cannot be explained, which cannot be smelled, which cannot be understood, which cannot be perceived, everything is also there. Why? Because that is why we know there is more to learn. This knowledge of I have more to learn, more to know about it is also coming from that Atman which is there, from the Sukshma Bhava. Otherwise, how do you know what you do not know? I know what I don't know. This comes from the Atman, because that which is not known to you is also is there inside you. Only thing it can be known. So long it is not known, it is Sukshma. You start knowing it, unfolding it, we call it knowledge. You start unfolding it. It is a continuous process. It keeps on going, because the knowledge is learning never ends. So knowing by an individual through the intelligence or the faculty of the mind or brain, we will not be able to learn. Why? Because the consciousness and the jnanam is beyond the capacity of the learning of a human being, because learning means, in a life, learning means nothing but experiencing. Learning is what? Experiencing. So you derive a result out of experiencing. So you have learned it. When you have experienced it, you have learned it. Deriving an experience through, so experimental experience of execution of the karmas is called learning. This is related with the, extensively related by the externality of identification of ourselves. We have explained about the subjective and objective identification and discussions during our discussion some time back. This is based on the extensive interpretation and experimentation of the external or objective experimentation. That is why this unknownness remains, because everything cannot be identified through the externalities. The subjectivity, the subjective experience is not there for in me or in one to identify the objective. So long that subjectivity is not there, the object cannot be identified. The objective identification can be identified only the subjectivity is there. And that subjectivity can be attained only through higher realm of attainment of consciousness. Unless you attain the higher realm of consciousness, which is known as Brahma Sakshatkaram, it cannot be known. So, in order to attain that Brahma Sakshatkaram, you have to release the status or release the plane of the unknown. When you relieve yourself from the plane of the unknown, the tala or the plane or the layer of unknown, and go into the known, the unknown layer is unknown. There is no experiencer in the known field. We have already explained about this few classes back, about different layers of from the lower consciousness to higher consciousness. You remember? We have explained this. In detail we have told how we travel from lower consciousness to higher consciousness. Okay. Now Bhagavan says, being which is subjectively is present in us. Externality is not a characteristic of God. Ultimately, he is subjectively and the aspect in the present as though the outer aspects are not. Hence, while the incapacity of probing into the subjectivity of the external universe prevents us from knowing everything in the universe. As a matter of fact, all investigation in the field of spiritual is internal and not external. We all know that. Whatever the senses are incapable of grasping cannot be contained in the external world. Only a little bit of the total value of the ultimate truth can be taken out by the vessels of the senses. As I told you some time back in our introductory talk also, that the whole thing is spirituality. Each and every function of ours is spirituality. If all the knowledge and the consciousness and informations are coming from that Atma, all that what we are getting is coming from the Atma. And that information that comes to the Antakarana, this is the first lessons we have learned. When it comes through the Antakarana and Antaratma, so mana and transmitted to Indriyas, the Jnanam, since we do not know the intensity of the knowledge and the utility of the knowledge for the one trained in a particular, one mind who is trained in a particular way, he analyzes that knowledge through that particular way. If the speck of sun ray which is falling from the sun, we are unable to identify the qualities of the sun ray. So when a person uses a reflector of different colors, the sun ray is seen as in different colors or different purposes. It is identified as different purposes. One will say the sun burns, sun tans, sun burns. Some say sun cools, sun heals. Many various are there. Sun gives light, sun gives temperature, sun is this, that. When it is cold in the external thing, one will look for the sun because you need a little warmth, they say. At that time the sun doesn't burn. You say it is warm and nice. But when it is summer, you say the same sun is hot. It is not the sun is hot or sun is warm. The light projected or the temperature projected from the sun is the same. It's only your experience that you are undergoing, so you say it is warm and it is hot. This is based on the experiences, is it not? The sun is warm. What we say? The sunlight is warm or sun is warm. Sun is hot, sunlight is hot. But the sun is same way. The mind has undergone certain experimental experiences throughout number of janmas. So whenever the jnanam is falling on the mana, The mana is identifying that jnanam in that same experience that it has learnt or undergone during the process of number of years of living, and transmits it to the indriya, which may not be right at all. It is absolutely based on the experience, even though the source of the knowledge is from the Atma. The basic knowledge or the information is from the knowledge, from the Atma. The heat is from the sun is no. That's fixed. There is no dispute on that. Only thing whether it is warm or hot is a dispute. Same way, the warmth and the hot is decided by your feeling of experimental experiences through your indriyas. The same manner, the consciousness or the jnanam comes from the Atma that is hidden inside you, but when it is reflected and passing through for the purpose of execution and utility of the jnanam in you, it passes through that screen of the mind which has got trained in a particular manner because of your experiences. So it always reflects based on that. That's why many people ask, if the Atma is inside us, why Atma is not letting me do only good things, why I am doing bad things? Atma neither does good nor bad. Atma is impartial, it provides the knowledge. That's all. You convert that knowledge into bad and good to suit your convenience, in the sense your experience. You means what? Here, what I mean is that your experience in the antakarana, in the intellectual center, in the ahambhava and the ahokara. In that intellectual center, and then the mana and the indriyas, they are influenced by the externalities, the experimental experience it has undergone through the externalities. Why the externality cannot be, why the internal or the inherent nature of the Atma cannot be identified through the externalities? Because in order to identify the Atma that is inside you, to know that when you use the externalities for identifying the inner in you, the distance between you and the external is being far because of the space and time. By the time you try to understand the externality through the capacity of the inherent capacity of you, which is known as again the subjective experimentation or experiencing, it takes quite a lot of time. Is why the immediate result doesn't arrive. That which is internal to experience it, it is immediate. That which is external to you to experiment it, you have to travel towards that. I'm physically talking about it. You have to travel towards that, find out that, come back and put an input inside you. Is why it takes a lot of time. In fact, when we finally come to know there is nothing called externality, everything is subjective. We have discussed about it. There is no object. They are all subject only, because the external, what we call, is that today we are referring to external means external to this physical body, or external to the understanding periphery of the mind. When it is beyond that, we call it as external. That within that we call it as internal. But there is nothing, it's only a created, illusionary, imaginary identification, that which is called internal and external. It is not existing. It is not there. It's only for the identification of this. This has been identified by an individual, that since he is an individual, he calls it as internal and external. If that individuality is not there, internal and external is also not there. Yes. It's the individuality which makes you, compels you to measure it as internal and outside, external. In fact, that's a great secret. We will be coming in there. I think somewhere in this Upanishad only, we come in the later part of it. I think this lesson. Well, just I can give you information, but we go there, we'll give you the explanations. It has been mentioned that the space that what we are calling, what is there in the space? What is space? Vacuum? Is it vacuum? Is it water? Is air? Somebody says air. Somebody says water. Somebody says. The great scientist and Upanishad says the whole universe, the space, what we call, is all a very thin, transparent liquid. That is how the transmittance of the emotion and feeding of the higher sources come to us very easily. Even though we call it as air, it is not only air, there is moisture also, no? That's why we call it as liquid. It is it's one kind of, very thin, transparent, very thin, because the transparency and the transmittance should be very efficient, through this. It's a thin kind of, we can call it as a liquid. It is a plasma. A kind of plasma is that. It is through which the information passes through very fast. And that is the basis of astrological calculations. Astrology. Why? The planetary system influences an individual because of the transmittance of the position of the planet and the vibrational frequency in that, how from so many light years away a star is there. Many questions, that's how the disbelief in astrology has come. Astrology is one of the part of the Veda. Veda. It is not wrong, but interpretations made by today's money-making astrologers are wrong. How this transmission of an influence of a planetary system influences an individual into certain extent, and the vibrational frequencies get affected, the astrological calculations is based because since it is a fluid in between, the moment it changes from 4 degrees to 5 degrees, whatever falls on that, the human or animal or tree, plant, it gets that vibrational frequency because it is the space is in that fluid. So transmission is very easy. It's not here. It's again a secret. So these things will come later. That's how this little bit of changes and things like that takes place. That's why in astrology it says, when you should plant a seed. In the fields, cultivation, they see the date, the day, the muhurtam, everything they see. If the calculation of the astrologer is right, exactly, when you plant that, there is no doubt it will grow much better because the vibrational frequency interlinked with that planet is very high. This calculation should be known, that's it. So the future, anyway, that's astrology. I am not talking about astrology. So we'll not go into that, otherwise again one gets carried away by that. We are talking about the Atma in the subjective and objective experiences. So when we go to objective experiences, that is why it is taking time in order to relate to the subject, because all the knowledges are in the subject only. So when it is subjectively transmitted, internally, then only it is possible to identify the the knowledge part of it. That's why, since the mind and the antakarana is experimented and experienced through various situations in various janmas, its knowledge is very limited. Its experiences are very limited. So whenever this knowledge is provided to one, he identifies the jnanam received from the Brahman as the reflector shows it. Now the principle, great tattva can be modified or redirected or misinterpreted or misrepresented by a reflector. Is it not? Is why one does the papa karmas. So, somebody is asking, Bhagwan Shiv's reincarnation, Bhagwan Shiv's avatara, some of the, not avatara, he doesn't have any avatara, he has got the amshas are there. In the Amsha Avatara, some of them are very cruel, they don't identify, there are things like that has been shown. The purpose of showing that is an intimation to us saying that even though it is the Deva Amsha that he has inside, in fact, everybody has got Deva Amsha. Everyone has only Deva Amsha. That Deva Amsha, when it is transmitted through a function of the mind based on his past life experiences or present life experiences, like Andhaka and all those people who are who are the destructive Shaktis of this world, even though they are the Devamsha, even though you have the Devamsha, when you are utilizing for your own purpose of that, for executing your karma, this transmission happens for the purpose of objective experience, and the subjectivity is forgotten, and one is looking for the objective experience and objective learning and objective pleasures. So automatically what happens, the utility of the subjectivity loses, because expectation of the subjective experience is an object. Unless an object is there, I cannot subjectively experience it. It has become a problem. That's why during the era from Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga, when it is transmitted gradually, what happens? We are unable to identify the Brahman or the Ishvara without an idol, without a photograph, without a place for worship, without a particular formality for worship. We are unable to identify the God. So today we say God is in the temple, God is in the photograph, we have a puja room. We have a puja room. Only in that room you can do puja. Only in that place you can do puja. It has come to that. Now what happened? You are expecting the objective experience to enhance your subjectively, and then realize the Atman through that, which will never happen. Huh? Will it happen? Which will never happen. It will be only an exercise to identify. Then why are we doing it? It is an exercise only to identify that externality is not there. You go and try to do something once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, 5 times, 100 times, it doesn't happen. When another person new to that field wanted to go and do that, what will you advise? Hey, don't waste your time. I have tried 100 times, it has not happened. Is it not? I have tried 100 times, it has not happened. Why are you wasting your time on that? I'm just telling an example. Don't take it for every, in an experience of your life. No, just an example. A jnani tells you, why are you wasting your time in your puja room, which has been designated by you, designed by you, provided by you. Some people put air conditioner for the God, they say. I have gone to some of the houses, I go for the vastu and all that. One gentleman, he has got enough money, of course, okay, no problem. He has put 2 air conditioners on that and then all these things, and very nice. Nothing wrong. I am not telling it is wrong. Let him have, like you have got an air conditioner in your bedroom, then let there be an air conditioner there, because you are all going to spend there 1 or 2 hours, you see. Now I asked him why, he told me, no, I didn't ask, I know why it is. He took me there, it's some time back, it is here only, in that Pretoria Street, I used to go there. So when he was renovating his building, he took me to puja room. देखिए गुरुजी, यहाँ पर हमने puja room बनाया. Do you know, I have put 2 air conditioners also here. I said, yes, very nice. He expected me to ask some questions. I didn't ask. Then he himself told, because he was expecting me to ask, so he himself told. क्यों लगाया मालूम है आपको? हम लोग सब एयर कंडीशन में रहते हैं, भगवान को भी एयर कंडीशन में नहीं रहना, एयर कंडीशन रहना चाहिए. So I smiled and laughed. Then he understood what he meant. बात ये भी है, so when the ladies go and sit inside the there, spend time. एयर कंडीशन होने से थोड़ा समय ज़्यादा लगेगा उधर में. तो उसको उधर ही बैठने. Various people are humorous, okay. A comment on humor. Whatever said and done, so let them sit there, focus over something. Very comfortably, to sit comfortably inside that, to identify the externality. With all that facilities, then you have to identify the externality. Even then, when you come out of it, nothing. All the facilities are provided to you. Even then, you are unable to identify through the externalities. Is that what justice, of course? So what happened? The subjective experience we are unable to identify. For that, what has to be done? That plane, we should be in a position to leave that plane and come to that internality. The external cannot give you the happiness. We always say that, Vedanta says, our experience says, no object can give me a pleasure. It is an imagination that I am getting a pleasure from that. It's a pleasure along with the pain. That's why the pleasure comes with the pain. Why the pleasure has to come with the pain? There is a pain in pleasure. Any amount of, let it be psychically or emotionally or physically or objectively or possessively, in whichever manner it is, it gives a pain. Why a pleasure has to come with the pain? Is it necessary? Dvandva. Actually, it is pain. It appears to be pleasure to you. After some time, when that appears to be that imaginary, pleasure goes away because it is temporary. Everything is based on the samaya and kala. Because of the identification of the subjectivity, you are trying to do it objectively. And that objectivity cannot give you the identification of subjectivity, is why the expectation of that objectivity will give me the identification of subjectivity, gives you a pleasure. But when it actually happens, the objectivity doesn't give you a pleasure to the subjectivity, gives you pain. So pleasure comes with pain, am I right? Got it? It's very simple. You buy a drink from the shop, lot of advertisement is there, new thing has come. Oh, let me do that. So when your expectation is very high when you are buying that because it costs 150 rupees. So expectation is high, price has been kept very high. Bought that drink and then started tasting it. My God, that what is that? That Sprint is better than the Scrint, which is 150 rupees. But I'll say Sprint is better. This, what is that? Pleasure. Initially, expectation of this two is going to be the superior. It's a pleasure. The moment it has come as subjectivity, it shows that subjectivity cannot be identified. It gives a pain. Disappointment is a pain only. This is how same thing happens in our day-to-day life, in everything. So subjective experience, that's why the subjective experience has to be identified, and the subjectivity has to be identified. In order to identify the subjectivity, it is not that easy. It is not that easily possible. Why? Because we are stuck with the objectivity. Since we are stuck with the objective experiences, we are used to do that. See? Now that used to do that has to be taken out, and then we start subjective experiencing. Then only we can relate with our Atma directly. So long we are experiencing the Atma external to us, we cannot experience the Atma. In order to experience the Atma, who is the Atma? Who is that which is the speck of Brahman, which contains everything that what you are seeing inside, outside, and what you are not seeing inside and outside. What is you and what is your intelligence, what is your sharira, what is your mana, what is your indriyas, what is your, including lightning and thunder, and then climate and sun and moon, all planetary system, earth, and all the indriyas, panchakoshas, panchabhutas. That Atman, to identify that, you have to disconnect yourself to identify the externalities. Through the externalities. That is why the exercise of teaching us through the Vedas and Upanishads, so that first listen and understand, at least such thing is there. Externality and internality, subjectivity and objectivity, first you understand that. Then gradually go into it and identify it. That is why we learn through the Upanishads. Then we go through the dhyanam, dharana, and then dhyanam. And then we go into vanaprastha and sannyasa, the virakti, the renunciation. The renunciation is that knowingly identifying that everything that is there is in me. I do not have to look for it outside. Many of us, I have told about this long back. Renunciation is not rejecting or and removing everything from you. In fact, identifying everything is in you is called the renunciation. Renunciation of the imaginary external world is called the renunciation. That the whole universe is inside you. Acceptance of everything is called renunciation. Rejection of something is not called renunciation. Rejection of something is not, acceptance of everything is called renunciation. To renounce that which is not jnanam is called renunciation. Renounce that which is called ignorance is called renunciation. What is ignorance? Ignorance is not a thing. Ignorance is a perception. That's all. That is the truth. That may be the truth is called an ignorance. That kind of ignorance is renouncing, removing, taking it out from you is called renunciation. Renunciation is not hatred or to be alone. Renunciation is that which one becomes one with the universe. not isolate oneself to. Sometimes we say, no, oh, Maharishi or Guru or Tapasvi Jnani, उन लोगों को क्या है? They have no responsibilities to do. They don't have to earn money. They don't have to look after a house. They don't have daily course of life like we have. It is very easy to live such a life. Nothing else to do. He has to only sit and meditate. Is what a general discussion I have heard. No, we all heard, and probably we also spoke the same thing at one point of time. He is a renounced soul. He is with everything. You as an individual, as a body, as a mind, you think you have to earn money, you have to eat, you have to do this, you have to do that, then only you survive. Or you have to take such and such responsibilities, then only you can survive. He, being a tapasvi, have gone beyond this plane of it, renounced the identity of the sharira as he, whereas he identified that Atma which is there in his lotus as he, which is everything. When it is everything, it doesn't have a desire, it doesn't have a requirement, it doesn't have a fulfillment, it doesn't have a responsibility, it doesn't have an attachment or detachment. When one doesn't have an attachment, detachment doesn't mean he doesn't have a love and hatred. All in the neutral sense. When one doesn't have both of them, one is with everything. When we always think that, oh, you say one doesn't have love, that means he doesn't love anybody, he's a loner. We immediately said. When we said he doesn't love, he also doesn't hate. When he doesn't love, when he doesn't hate, what he does? He is one with them. That's all. Here what happened was, we all have got a misunderstanding. The attachment, attraction and possessiveness as love. This we have already discussed earlier. Possessiveness as love. That's why we say he is a loner. The one who is trying to live with possession, with acquiring, with desire, with attachment, is a loner. The one who renounces this is with everyone. Alright. Why you are possessing? Because you think you are a loner. Why you are attaching yourself, attracted yourself? You are thinking you are a loner. Why you want love? Because you think you are a loner. Why you say I have to love? Because you think you are a loner. Only when you do that, then only you get an attachment, then only you get a possession. A sannyasi, a great sannyasi, he doesn't have neither an attachment nor a detachment. He is in that. He is in that. Because he need not to possess, because it is easily available. Since it is not easily available to you, you want to possess. For him it is easily available because he need not to possess, because he has renounced his desires and possessions, because he identified the Antaratma, that which is inside him, which is equivalent to the Atma, external to him. So there is no externality. He is not trying to have the pleasure of the attachment, pleasure from the externality, pleasure from the attachment, pleasure from the possession, pleasure from the detachment, pleasure from X, Y, Z, good, bad, right, wrong. Right? So who is a loner? The one who calls oneself as an individual is a loner. He's an individual, he's a loner. One who has a name is a loner. One who doesn't have anything in a name is not a loner. Tapasvi Jnani, the one who is a renounced soul, is an Atma, an universal Atma. He is in everything and in everyone. When he is in everything and everyone, why should he possess? I am not trying to possess me, is it not? No one is trying to possess himself. Does he try? Let me possess my eyes. We don't say that, no? Because eyes is yours. When the eyes are yours, you don't try to possess. Your ears are yours, so let me try to possess the ear. Suppose this ear goes to somewhere else. We don't try to possess it because it is yours. You are confirmed it is yours, it is with you. Tapasvi says, Atma is mine. Or I am the Atma. When he is the Atma, will he try to possess it? Everything is he. Everything is Atma. That which is completeness. That's why it is known as Purnata. When is it Purna? When everything is there. Everything is there is called Purnata. He is Purna. Who doesn't have an attachment. That's why Bhagavad Gita said, in any avastha, shitoshna, dinaratra avasthas, it's all equal to one. He is the one who has identified the Atman. Samatva Bhavana. This is called Samatva Bhavana. Many have interpreted Samatva Bhavana as the horse and donkey should be considered as same, is what they understood as Samatva Bhavana. Donkey is donkey. Okay. So what has happened? The importance of identification of the subjective and even though we have discussed about subjective objective, he is emphasizing in this chapter, Bhagavan is emphasizing to identify. He says that the God ultimately he is subjectively, and that aspect is present in us, although the outer aspects are not. That's why we say there is God in everyone. That is that speck of sun ray. When the sunlight takes place, he doesn't have any distinction. Whether it is an ocean, whether it is a fish, whether it is a meat, whether it is a dead body, or whether it is a pandit, whether it is a Bhagwan's statue, or whether it is a dirt, or pond, or a lake, or a tree, or a plant. Everywhere that sunlight is reflected. And that sunlight which falls on the dirt will never get dirty. Will it? That sunlight which falls on a murderer doesn't get the sin of a murdering. That sunlight which falls on a pandit doesn't become a pandit. That sunlight which falls on a deity of God doesn't become God. At the end of it, what is it? Sunlight. Wherever it falls and wherever it reflects, every day, every moment, it keeps on falling, is called the sun ray, or that's called the Atman, that's called the Brahman. That Atman which is there, which falls, which is there in everything, is the Atman which doesn't get affected by that. Many people ask why the Atma doesn't get the Papa karmas, experience of the Papa karmas that we are doing. So Upanishad said Atma is a witness, they said. What does it mean, witness? It's always there, its light is always there, its knowledge is always there. It gives you the knowledge to do the bad thing also. The knowledge is given by the Atma only. Why you are doing the bad thing? The doing the bad thing is not from the Atma. Atma provides the knowledge to do a thing. That a thing is a good thing or a bad thing is classified by you, and you exercise your good and bad according to your experience, becomes good and bad, and that good and bad becomes yours because you did the bifurcation from a thing to a good thing or a bad thing. So the experience of that result will come and filter at the point where it transmitted as a thing. Beyond that, it is Atma. Something like that. Am I clear? How Atma is not affected by. So anybody is Atma. We call, let us say, anybody. So any Atma, let it be fun, is absolutely pure, is absolutely same. So the Udana, that which is collecting all the experiences through the intellect and in a part of Atma which is carried there, will again get reflected in order to fulfill it and get the purification and purify itself completely in all respects and attain the Purnata, attain the completeness, attain the, what is that? It's not the experience, it's the contentment. In all ways, in all the respects, in all respects, it's the containment. As I told you yesterday, that whenever we have experiencing the right karmas, we find the happiness throughout. And when that comes, whatever it is, that comes, then we are related to Atma. When we are related to Atma, we are free. Then the freedom, Swatantrata comes. Otherwise, we are bound by actions. I have to do this, I have to do that, I am doing this, I am doing this, I have done this, I have done this. I am bound by it. The freedom comes only when I am relating myself with the Antaratma or the Atma, what we call. This is the secret, as the Upanishad puts it. This heart is a great secret. And by an introversion of consciousness into its depths, it would be possible to plumb the mysteries of the whole cosmos. Introvert it into the plumbing of that, into the depths of that Antaratma, you gain the experience of the cosmos. When you are experiencing the cosmos, what is your small experimental experience to possess it and then find pleasure and Atma, happiness in that? Is looking for something in the middle of onions. There has to be a small seed inside the onion. So let me look for it. Keep on peeling, nothing happens. The reason is that the tentacles of all planes of being are centered in one's heart. It is as though this heart is the center of the universal circle. The radii of this circle converge into this little center of consciousness, which we vaguely call the subject of perception. The subject of perception. That's why I always use the word perception in our talks. The perception is not through the intelligence, not through your experiences of your mind, not for the convenience of you, not through your convenience, but it has to be an impartial, isolated, independent activity by itself through the Antaratma. That's why I say, don't try to understand. You remember I told you? Don't try to understand. The moment you try to understand, the faculties, the instruments that has been provided to you to understand will intervene and analyze it differently through a reflector. When you don't try to understand or don't understand, it is perceived. Vedas are perceived. Olden days, Vedas are recited by the Guru and the disciple just listens to that. He doesn't analyze it, he doesn't by heart it, he doesn't do anything, just by listening. This is a perception, you see. It's not understanding or remembering. How can one remember the whole 4 Vedas? It's not possible. If you use the word remember, it is not possible. Can anybody remember all the 4 Vedas? God talking, my God. But there are people who could identify, who could remember all that. Those days, the gurus, they used to recite. And the disciple just perceives it and he repeats it. All the Vedas, all the mantras, all the Shastras, all the principles. This is called the perception. Once it is perceived in that sense, that perception is the one which will penetrate and put down through the knowledge, through the mind. Mind has no other way because it doesn't have the capacity to analyze it. Mind doesn't have the capacity to analyze that highest form of the knowledge of the consciousness. So the mind turns into a part of that Atma. Is why whatever he speaks is Veda Vakya, the Vangmaya Ishvara. It's a Vangmaya Ishvara. Ishvara comes through his Vani, the one who speaks like that. Ishvara comes in his Vani. Vangmaya Ishvara. Ishvara comes through his eyes, looking by his look, it happens. We say Bhagavan looked and Kamadeva burnt. Looking at it, through the knowledge, through the perception, perceived knowledge, not understood knowledge. Whatever he thinks, it happens because everything is in him and everything is he. This is called perception. So perceiving is that now. So subjective experiencing is through the studies of Upanishad, through dharana and dhyana. So in order to have study, in order to have dharana, dhyanam, again we have to go back that samarpana bhava, upasana, nididhyasana, things like that, where your mind is totally understood, your mind totally clear about the ways and means how the mind can relieve itself by its false notions of experimental experiences, holding on to him since so many janmas and suffering because of that attachment and holding that he had been doing. This identification comes when you realize this, so the mind releases his responsibility of holding on to those ignorant and experimental ideas, surrenders to the Antaratma. Perception becomes absolutely clear. Karma Mukti, Krama Mukti. It has been explained in the earlier chapters, especially in the 7th chapter. That's the previous chapter we have finished. That the Absolute is universal in its nature. It's not merely an individual subject, but it's a very hard thing for the mind to comprehend. One's mind can never know what universality is, and therefore any amount of instructions given to it from this point of view would naturally go over one's head. Naturally. When I say the mind has been accumulating only this unwanted muck, holding on to it, thinking that it's a very precious thing that I am having. I am the most knowledgeable. And analyzing all the instructions from the Atma through that and experiencing the same setbacks. And he comes again and again in every janma in order to experience one after another. So he says, unless one goes under the training of this, discipline of this, and identifies, it goes over the head, that's all. Okay, I understood what you said. No more discussions on that. Will be the answer by your mind to you. We are told that the present chapter is especially intended for those who are unable to grasp the implications of the just preceding chapter, which is concerned more with the universal aspect of the absolute. And when this chapter confines itself to the heart of the individual, it does not limit itself to the body of the individual. Is the purpose why you are doing it. That's why I'm reading it out to you, what Swamiji says. For the heart which we are speaking of is not the physical heart. It is not your heart or anybody's heart. It is not this bodily encasement. It is a symbol used for the center of pure subjectivity in us. And as therefore, the heart means the consciousness which is apparently located within the walls of the body, but which can never be restrained or limited on account of its superphysical nature. Classification. So it's not small, it's not big, it's not neither small nor big. Who am I to say, and how can I say which is big and which is small? That what is small, which is containing everything, is it small? So he says, that universal being, to be identify that universal being. That's what I said. A sadhu, who I'm just telling you and explaining that, when we call it as a renunciation, we also told earlier also, this has been told, renunciation means that which is not necessary, which is ignorance, to renounce that so that you attain everything. Why are you not attaining the secret of the universe, secret of the Atma, secret of the Brahman today? Is because you are attached with the myths of the external factors, objective experiences, illusions, imaginations. When you are stuck with the imaginations and dreaming on certain things, you will not understand the fact. Arey, you are dreaming about it. Huh? Understand the fact. When you are dreaming, you will not understand the fact. Dream is an illusion. Dream is absolutely an imagination. Nothing other than that. It's a reflection of your experiences or expectations in your thought level. Nothing other than that. When that happens, what happens? You forget to identify the truth. That's all. Some people are very stuck. सुबह 4 बजे की नींद में हमने सपना देखा ये होने का है, and that fellow is, suppose it happens after 1 month, he has seen that 1 month, 1 महीने के बाद में उसको मरने का है, सपने में देखा, वो भी 4 बजे के सपने में, 4 o'clock in the morning. Finished. That 1 month he is dying every day. 4 o'clock sapna is absolutely true, is what they say. Early morning, it's absolutely true. So it should happen. After 1 month, that devil did not die. So what happened? 4 बजे के सपना क्या हुआ? Nothing happens. No. Some people are stuck. What is that? I'm just telling you an example. Many people say that, 4 o'clock sapna, it's going to happen. Wrong. Nothing. All illusions and images. So if you live in that kind of imaginations and illusions, you will never identify the Atma. In order to do that, you have to go through that consciousness. It's why this Atma, like the rays of the sunlight, the Atma in the lotus of in your mind, the consciousness, what it appears as the representation of the knowledge among in the humanity, has to be identified, and then learn the kind and characteristics of the perception you are supposed to habituate through the studies and practices of meditational Vedic practices and jnanam through the gurus. Take the initiation as the help so that your energy and your orientation is directed towards that. Establish discipline and faith. We talked about faith. Establish determination and faith, Shraddha and Bhakti. Onto that, be firm on that, and you will find the whole happiness of the universe is in you. Not those, this. Is what he's talking about in this sense. This is why it is known as perception. The perception can be done, perceiving can be done only. That's why this knowledge only can be perceived. Knowledge cannot be understood. This I have already told you earlier. That's why it is a impartation of the knowledge, imparting of the knowledge from the third eye of the Guru to the disciple, and he perceives it. No other instruments, see, where in this case what happened? No other instruments are coming in the way. He imparts it through the third eye, means the consciousness. No mind, no perception, no belief, no attraction, no attachment, nothing comes. Direct from the consciousness, and the disciple also receives it directly into the Atma. This is why Atma Sakshatkara. That realization of the principle is called realization of the self. Not the individual. I got one heart, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys. For somebody 1 kidney. 2 legs, 1.5 legs. It's not self-realization. Universal identity is called self-realization. We have already discussed in the previous chapter. Am I clear with this perception? That is why yesterday when I spoke about the Mukteshwar and Yogananda Paramahansa, that when the Guru did not bother where he has gone, what he is doing, why he has come, why he has not come. Because this Atma, who is a witness, it only transmits that jnana. He knows everything has to come to me only. Even that goes away, it is my jnanam, it is me who is guiding him to do that, so that he experiments it, experiences it, and feels this is not right. By his presence, he is not instigating him. Guru will not instigate you to do good or bad. That's what it explains about the, when you read that you will understand. You all must have read that yogi's book. His presence, Yogeshwar uses his presence. Any individual uses the presence of the Guru, and then as the faculty in you, you utilize it to do good thing and bad thing. Even to do a bad thing, the strength comes to you from Guru only. Many people say, why he is not correcting me when I am doing wrong? If there is a Guru, why he did not correct? He was always there to correct you. You did not want to be corrected. If you want it to be corrected, it can be done. What does it mean by that? It means that your dedication and devotion, Shraddha and Bhakti again, if that is there constantly with him, where is the question of you going away from him? Here it explains, Yogananda has gone away from the Guru. When there is dedication, that's why I said the basic principle of Upasana and Nidhyasana, when those things are already inherent in a disciple, where is the question of going? Because he has already surrendered the Tan, Man, everything. Jnanam, everything. When it is already handed over, when it is everything is done, where is the question of going away? The question of going away is not there. Since he has not, it's not a physical going away or physical handing over things. When that jnanam is there, wherever you are, when that Shraddha and Bhakti is there, when it is totally surrendered, when it is already with the Guru, your going away is not at all taking place. Then he directs you, or then he influences you, or he is not influencing, you get influenced by his jnanam. And you utilize for the right and wrong. You see, right? The wrong happens because you do not take the guidance from him. Even though his witness is there, you are utilizing that power in order to do the wrong because you are away. He is there. That's why I said, even after the death, even wherever you are, whatever you are doing, he is always present there. He is always there. Why he is not forcing you? A forcing way means that you are making a person execute a karma. The job of the Guru is to give you karma mukti, krama mukti. If a disciple doesn't want to do something, I will not come and pray to you. I will not worship you. I will not puja to you. I will not fold my hands. I will not think in my mind. I will not do this. Suppose, okay, fine, no problem. What happens? He doesn't want to. When he doesn't want to, that means he is away from that Guru. But Guru is always there with him. How do you know that? Because whenever you wanted, he was there. When you didn't want, you thought he is not there. But whenever you wanted, he is there. So it proves that he is there. He was there always. The utility of you, the utility of his jnanam. It's not a forceful act. Why? Because if the Guru forcefully takes you away from that, no, hey, don't do that. No, I want to do it. Don't do that. No, I want to do it. Now when he says don't do it, even though you are withdrawing him from that karma to some other thing without his willingness or without his acceptance, what happens? That becomes a papa karma for him. It's a karma. But his intention is to do karma mukti. So makes him do that karma, experience the karma bala, and makes him come out of it. Bhagavan Krishna did the same thing in the Mahabharata. In Yuddha, everyone was asked to undergo the experiences of theirs, including the great Acharyas, including the great Bhishma. Even though his Ichha Mrityu was there, Bhagavan wanted him to identify that his mistakes, his pride, to be crushed by lying on the Sharashaya for 18 days, where he did a lot of mistakes in his life. He's a great personality, no doubt about it. Even though it's all preordained and predetermined that this is what is going to happen, and they know this is what is going to happen. As I told you, it's again a curse from the previous life. As the Ashtavasu, he was cursed by the Maharshi, Agastya, And then he had to be born as the Bhishma in order to experience this. He is aware of that. But then he should have corrected many things here. Well, he had to undergo that. So that penance he has to undergo, even though Bhagavan was there, even though he himself has got Ichha Mrityu, he did not decide that he had to undergo that 18 days, whatever day, 10 days, 8 days, 18 days of Sharashaya. He has to undergo that experience of that. Even the great, like Acharya, great personality again. With his own tapo shakti he burned. Agni was there, created in him. He knows that he had to undergo this experience. Now what I am trying to tell you is that whatever happens now, if one doesn't correct, even though you may get a Punyatma's life, you have to correct it in that life. Had Bhishma corrected his mistakes in this life, he would not have been facing that humiliation and insult throughout the life. He had been like a Sharanarthi in the palace, eating Duryodhana's khana and living there like a rejected old man. What else? Yeah, think about it. Okay, so what we have to do, what we are supposed to do. When the Janma is provided, that's why I said the Janma is precious. The birth is precious because we get an absolute purity, classification and clarity that how we have to subjectively progress, gradually renounce externality. And the subjectiveness has been provided, the provision has been provided to you, the closest to you, the jnanam, the embodiment of the jnanam, the gurus or the tapasvis and rishis have been provided around you, around each one, easily available. Look for that, attain that, through which you will be helped in order to be progressing subjectively, identifying your consciousness subjectively, and thereby identifying the Atman, that which is the universe, that it is universal, and the great powers and secrecy of that Atma can be identified. So that can be one with that is called Atma Sakshatkaram. Rest we'll talk in the next class. Okay. Fourth, now, what is it? 814. We'll take next.